All right, so now that we kind of see what we can do with these video layers, let's just do a little bit more to kind of show you options that you have animating like this. So far I've just been animating on layer one. I'm gonna rename it ball. But there's all kinds of like styling options I have. So I'm gonna do the same thing we did before, where I create another video layer. So I'm gonna start about wherever my first frame was, about here. I'll go to layer, video layers, new blank layer, which will add it right above. And I thought it would be fun if we used like a complementary color, so something that's very bright and contrasting with what we have here. And I'm going to choose a different brush style, so something that has some character to it. And I thought it'd be cool to add a little face onto this ball. So if I were to actually start to paint in here what looks like a face. So I'm going to turn on smoothing so that it reinterprets my line work in a more refined matter. But here's my face, and as I go to the next frame, I want to enable those onion skins so I can see what I did before. And so here, I'm going to keep the face in the same place, but I'm going to stretch out the eyes to make it look like they are falling. And I'll open up the mouth just a little bit more, and I'll keep doing that. So go ahead, see if you can add a face to the ball and give it an expression anytime it's moving in a certain way. So again, I'm trying to give it more expression as it moves through the air. All right, so I've gone ahead and put in some additional features on the ball. Makes it look like it has a face. I even had it follow it all the way through to when it's getting squashed. So it's kind of a cool effect. But remember, we were working in two layers right here. And oftentimes we want to do that. We want to have like multiple layers describing one feature, one thing. And so eventually, I actually want to combine those or group them together. So I could group that. I could just name it ball. And now all that stays together while I begin to deal with something else. And so one thing we need to do is we want to put in the footage of the hand coming in. Now, just to show you, like I've been showing you like big blobby color fills. You don't always need to work in this method or this mode. So I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna enable the onion skin so we can see some frames forward and backward. And so what I want to do is make it look as though there is something coming out from the side. And we're going to use just like I'm just going to use like a standard dark color. But something in the footage where something about here, we start to see a feature come out of the side of the frame. And so I'm going to go to layer, new video layers, new blank layer. And I'm going to try to just like quickly animate something that's simple but a little descriptive. So I'm going to keep leaning into using a custom brush, turn on some smoothing. If you are animating like this, it's actually advisable to work with some kind of tablet in order to animate these features because a mouse can only do so much And there's only such a level of detail you can create before it just starts to look quite wonky. But just so that everyone can kind of see where this goes and what comes from it, I'd like to show this just really simply. So I'm starting off with this blobby feature. It pulls out, and by the time it's here, it has grown longer and larger. Okay, and it might have some kind of like club at the end. So let's see if we can pull this off. Might be a little shaky, but right about here, yeah, this is where I want to describe just a little bit more, as though it like morphed into a fist or a hand. Again, nothing too complicated. We got a Simpson style arm. So I'm gonna pull this down a little bit, because this is where it makes contact. So I need to actually, I think I'm gonna redraw. So right here, it should be making contact with it. So let's see, I'm here, right here. I want it to already be down and making contact. And this is stuff you gotta figure out with trial and error. So you will definitely need to draw frames like how I'm doing them. They're very wireframe-esque, meaning I haven't added a lot of detail. I'm just trying to use line first to try to describe it. Oops, got a little off right there. And then once I see that it's working, I'll come in and start to stylize it. So I'm right here, and now I do want to like shift this so like the fist is really making an impact, and I'll start to pull the arm out a little bit more. And remember, you can copy and paste once you have like a good framework here. So like this fist, I think this last one I'm going to draw, it's basically like the ending frame, and after this it doesn't need to move around anymore. So I don't want to actually keep drawing this. So what I'll do is command click, copy, or I'm sorry, select these pixels, hit command C. I'll move to the next frame, deselect, and then I'll just come up here and I'll say edit, paste special, paste in place. And I'll keep doing that on these other frames. Edit, paste in place. And that way we keep that there, even though, okay, the rest of the ball is moving. So it'll make sense when we actually put it all together. It looks like it stays still as the rest of the ball splats. So let's turn off the onion skin and let's see how that looks. Okay, I'll turn off footage and see how it looks. Cool. So you got ball bouncing, hand coming in, and squashing it. So fun. Obviously, we'd want to name that hand. We could continue to stylize this, but once you start working with line, you need to decide, do you keep the line? Do you paint over it and then delete it? Or I could add another video layer. So I would need to add something like this new blank video layer, put it underneath the hand layer, and then I would start to see if I can fill this in. So once I have that last part, I can command click, copy that, deselect, move to the next frame, Command Shift V and paste that in place. I can just keep doing that from one frame to the next. I do need to think about, you know, like, does my color go in front or behind? So in this case, it's like, it's kind of going in front of some of that splat. So, you know, I might need to think about, where does this color go? Maybe the color needs to go underneath the ball layer in order for this to work out properly. So just be aware of your layer order and how that affects some of these details. So now if we look at this pretty short animation so far, just have a few seconds, it's coming out pretty good. So make sure to name them. So this could be hand color. It's okay to have things broken up like this. The last thing I wanted to show you is this ability to add things like type and other elements. So I want to have a little bit of an intro, and I want this to start with like a background that's not white and some type over it. Let's see how we can do that. So I actually don't need to create these video layers, because I'm going to show you how you can animate these pretty simply in the timeline. So I'm going to add a new layer, and again, make sure to choose the name on this, or to eventually name it. But this one's going to be like my intro color layer, intro color. And I want to lean into something that I've been using. So maybe it's this yellow color here. So I'm going to grab the paint bucket and just paint it all yellow. So what you're going to see is going to happen is we'll have all that color, and then the moment that layer is cut off is when you'll see the animation begin. You don't have to have it fade in like that. So like, here's the beginning of our animation, and then it's just cutting straight into it. We don't have to do that. So let me show you an option that we have. If I toggle open right here on the intro color, we actually can change these qualities of this layer. So in this case, we want to play around with opacity. So starting about probably right here, I want to set the opacity. So I'm going to hit the stopwatch icon. I'm going to set it as a keyframe. So now that I have that, I want to have it fade out as we get over. So about right here is when I want this to fade out to 0. So as long as this layer is selected, I have opacity selected. You need to make sure that you're actually on the frame. So now I'm on the frame right here. I'm going to come over and I'm going to set the opacity all the way down to 0 on that layer. And then you'll see it does a fade of opacity as we move through that. So you can see it's a pretty general fade. Now you can adjust the keyframe, so I want it to be full opacity a little bit longer, so I could take this individual keyframe and I could move it over. So now look, stays opaque for longer and then it transitions. So let's do the same thing, but let's do it with a text layer. So I'm going to grab the type tool, move the timeline, and I will click and drag to get some type, and I'll say this is the story of the ball. I'll highlight it all, and this time I want to use a color that is a little more similar to the color I was using for the actual ball. And if I was styling this, I'd probably save these colors. Go ahead and fix some of this. Okay, so I have text here. I want this to be smaller. So I'll have the story of be a lot smaller. And I want this text to go below. It's a little too small, so let's see what 30 gives me. 60. Okay, there we go. And then ball, we're going to make much larger. So there's my title. The story of the ball. Okay, I'll center that. And what I can do is I can pull this in and I could think about, okay, when do I want this to come into visibility and when do I want it to fade out? Okay, so I'm going to come over here to the beginning, toggle this open. I'm going to click opacity. Notice that with text layers, you actually get some more options for transformation and styling. But right here, right away, this beginning opacity, I want it to be at 0. So on that first frame, you can't see it. As we fade into the scene, I want it to go to 100. And then as it'll stay at about 100, okay, to about right here. And then I always like to kind of just give a little bit of transition already. So it's going to go to 90 right there. And by the time this ball comes in, okay, we want this to be mostly gone. So I'm going to make sure I'm on frame. And I'll bring that down to 0. And let's see how that looks. Pretty cool. One more time. So it's fading in a little quick. I'm going to move this keyframe and then this one. There we go. That has a little bit better pacing. Cool. So we went over a lot of things, but I think what's important to note is that we are using this timeline and we're definitely using the power of these video layers. So layer, video layer, and the new blank video layer. If I wanted to, I could bring in more footage, okay, to use as the basis, but we have a lot of flexibility. Be prepared to have this timeline look pretty large too. So you might want to adjust this so that you can see a little bit more of your timeline. Remember, you can change your panel options. So in this case, you could make the thumbnails of your layers a little bit smaller. You can toggle things closed so that you can see things better. But in this short amount of time, so I would say this is about 3 to 4 seconds, we've already got a little bit of a concept going on. Okay, lots of room for refinement and improvement, but we have most of what we need to know to do something like this out of the way. So good luck with yours. I hope this helps you in understanding how animation works in Photoshop, and I'm looking forward to what you guys come up with.